Shalom friends, welcome to Daf Reactions Gittin 70. Sometimes people will say to me, why on earth are you learning the Talmud, of all things? It's so random, it's so weird, it's so out there. And sure, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is hilarious, this is entertaining, this is, highly what the fuck. Like, yeah, Ashmedai, go kick King Solomon's ass, I support you. But then, whiplash. The sages and the Talmudic discussion has pivoted. Now they're having a conversation about issues that they are struggling with, and they are trying to understand it the best way they knew how at the time. And some of those issues are 100% things that we still struggle with now. I think this particular page serves as a pretty good example of the juxtaposition of the deeply wacky and the profoundly serious. So let's begin this daf with the entertaining portion of it, which is the highly suspect medical advice. Please don't take this. Please. Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, said to Rabbi Natan, only eat and drink a third of what you want to. But it's not for diet reasons. No. It's because you have to leave room inside you for anger. Anger takes up a lot of space, physical space in the body, and you don't want to get so full from eating food that the anger has nowhere to go and then just you explode. You know, nobody wants that. It's just really hard to clean up after that. Your average vacuum won't cut it. Mar Ukva said, if you drink cheap white wine, it will weaken you. Rav Chisda, clearly a wine connoisseur, said, well, that's the damn truth. Obviously, red wine is the best, but white wine? Out of a box? Huh. What can I say? He was a lovable wine snob. The sages taught best practices indicate that you should wait a while after exiting the bathroom before doing the horizontal tango with your wife. You don't want the bathroom demon to be present while you're doing it. It could affect the health of a child you would conceive, and it might also just be weird to have the demon watching from a corner, unless that's what you're into, in which case, who am I to judge? Is it any weirder than Rav Kahana hiding under Rav's bed to find out how babies are made? I don't think it is. Abaye says, well, while we're, on this subject, if anybody's having trouble getting it up, I do have a recipe for ancient Viagra. Rabbi Yochanan said, laugh all you want, guys, but I was part of the clinical trials. Highly recommend. So yes, I would never claim that this medical advice is not hysterical, because it is. But then the sages return to discussing the original issue, which is how we got on this fun little tangent anyway. That issue is not very fun. It's about what if a man has decided he's going to divorce his wife and he asks someone to draw up the legal document, the get, but then the husband suffers an acute mental breakdown. He retracts what he said about the divorce. The sages then have a really detailed discussion about which version of this man's wishes to honor and why. This is all really important because in Jewish law and halakha, only a man can make a divorce happen. A woman cannot divorce her husband. And this is where the text goes from we're all having a little chuckle, a little giggle, to, oh yeah, no, this is serious. I'm going to tell you a story about somebody who I know very well. A woman whose husband of almost a decade suffered a severe mental health break. What she endured during that time nearly destroyed her. And she had really tried to get him help. But it was too late. And after a while of berating her and throwing things at her and making her life a living hell, she recognized that she needed to protect herself. And divorce was the only way to do that, so she lawyered up. There was this fear in the back of her mind that her husband would refuse to grant her a Jewish divorce. Yes, they're two different things. She did not know what choices he would make out of vindictiveness or out of cruelty or in anger. If he didn't grant her the get, she could have been trapped, tied to him forever in the eyes of the Jewish community, in the eyes of Jewish law. She could have become an Agunah, a chained woman, never able to move on with her life and get remarried to a different Jewish person if one day that was what she wanted. So she worked really closely with her lawyer and with her Beit Din, the local Jewish court. A month after her civil divorce, she went to the Jewish court and she received her get. Until the very moment that she caught it out of the air, which is indeed part of the ritual. You drop it in your hands and you catch it. Until that moment, she had been terrified, afraid of the combination of a person going through an extremely difficult mental breakdown, combined with a patriarchal power structure in which she had no authority. This situation does not always turn out okay, but for her it did, because this particular Beit Din was lovely. and they were supportive and they understood and they cared about this very, very challenging situation that this woman was in. It's only really now, after studying the Talmud, that I see the through line from the conversation of the sages to this very specific experience at the Beit Din. This is one reason why I find studying Talmud so incredibly important, especially for women, because these are our lives. And these rulings, these actions, these discussions, they affect everybody in the Jewish community, sure, but most of all, they affect those of us who are not men.